you're also trying to round up. We have a harmonized report with the House of Reps, which we've signed the board chairman and the respective clerks, and it's already before your committee. Now, the only point I would like to make for your consideration and probably for your information, Mr. Chairman, is that last year there was this 6 billion, which is supposed to be a multilateral loan, that was a part of the budget of the environment. And accordingly, we appropriated it, but regrettably, that money was never released. And we were informed that it was not released because it was a mistake. Now, this year again, a similar figure of 16 billion appeared. And so we decided to inquire what the 16 billion is all about. They said it's supposed to be what we call the NEWMAP. So it's for erosion control. Now, when we invited the director in charge of NEWMAP with the environment, first he stated that he didn't know about that figure and that it was not part of the envelope. That it came in after they've submitted the envelope to the Federal Ministry of Finance. Now, on further inquiry, it was supposed to be for the servicing of a loan, the federal government, the government counterpart of this project. Now, the other information we have, which is also disturbing, is that the states are the beneficiaries of this loan and they are supposed to pay it. So now, this 16 billion is most likely not to be released as well. So, but it now forms part of the budget we're trying to, the figures we're trying to appropriate. And I understood that this is also the same story with some of the committees. So I'm just raising it so that you, as chairman of the appropriation, will look into these issues, not just our own, but I believe the similar committees where we have these figures. So because it appears that the federal government is distributing these figures across various committees and MDAs, but actually they will not be released. Now, the interesting thing is that in the case of the NEWMAP, Mr. Chairman, there is a 10-year moratorium. This project started in 2013, and then there's a moratorium of 10 years. That means the government will start paying only in 2023. So now, why are they putting these figures? First, the loan is not due for repayment. Secondly, it's the state that will pay. Federal government just provided guarantee. So, but because we've got guidelines from your committee on how to handle the budget, we've decided to leave it as it is. But I felt it's an opportunity to raise this issue with you. I've discussed this with my counterpart in the House of Reps, and he also raised a similar issue with the House, so that you will be able to take it up with the Federal Minister of Finance and then see how this will now be managed. Otherwise, it will continue. So we need to find out why we are doing this to ourselves, and then what it's all about, and how do we make sure that the matter is ratified. As I said, there are two major issues. One, the loans are not yet due for repayment. Then secondly, that the repayment will be by the states. So federal government are appropriating money for the servicing of those loans is inappropriate and also not timely. So I appeal to Mr. Chairman, as chairman of the Committee on Appropriation, to protect the integrity of the National Assembly by making sure that we find out the actual facts regarding these figures across some of the committees. So unless you want me to further go into the details of the otherwise, I'll just submit the report for your consideration.
Thank you very much. It's just for the forming to the formal way we do this process. Otherwise, because of your pedigree, because of the respect we have for you, because of your standing here in the National Assembly, you know, whatever you bring here should be something that should be in the best shape possible. So, but let me quickly say that I will take up the matter. The committee will take up the matter of the Ministry of Finance, and I thank you very much for raising this issue. That's why we always have the greatest respect for you, because you are always diligent in whatever you do. So we'll take up the matter, but I don't think it's part of, it has anything to do with debt servicing. It is, yes, yes. Yes, exactly. Well, we'll find out. But if it is for debt servicing, it will have been part of it will have been in the current aspect of the budget where you service debt. Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah. So, but in any case, we'll find out because it's strange, and we ought to get to the bottom of the matter. So we thank you very much. In the absence of any question, any question? Yes. It's formal. If not, I will tell him to go because. But we'll give him the chance. I don't want you to say I'm overprotecting the former deputy senate president. Now, go on.
Thank you very much, my leader. I'm not satisfied with this, ongoing, even though you stated everything. But is it how we'll continue ongoing, new project, no time of finishing this project?
Question across to the ministry and the agencies because they prepared this budget, and because we had directive from your committee not to interfere beyond 5%, so we would have consolidated all those things and then probably ensure that some of them will be completed, because this will have been our experience, the issue of ongoing projects from year to year that are never finished. When you are putting 5 million, 10 million, 2 million in the project, it will never be finished. So I agree with you, distinguished colleague, but the problem is that because we are trying to find a way, a middle ground between the executive and the parliament, we try as much as possible to reduce areas of friction, because this is worrisome. As I agree with you, it's very worrisome. It's not just peculiar to our committee. I believe it's the same thing with most of the other committees. So I'm sure our chairman on appropriation will take up this matter so that maybe in the next appropriation we'll be given a free hand to ensure that this has to stop.
Thank you, Excellency. And I think the best way to go, just oversight, to see what is going on out there. So we thank you very much for this wonderful report, straight to the point report. And you still want to say something? Huh?
Mr. That's Professor Ekeremadu. I could see that tree planting. What is allocated there is very meager. 692 million. Considering this serious desertification and climate change, I think we should be able to put a serious fund on it.
Again, you are right. Just the same point. The same answer I gave to my friend, I'm going to give to you, is the availability of funds. Regrettably, we can't do much. I was working with the chairman of appropriation, and his hands are also tied. He's a member of this committee, so he would have shown you more sympathy than any of you. But because his hands are tied, so we clearly understood. But the good thing is that in the issue of tree planting, there are two of the agencies under the environment that are dealing with the issue of tree planting. One is the Forestry Institute in Ibadan, so which I believe you are referring to. But there's also the Great Green Wall, which has sufficient resources to deal with the issue of tree planting, especially in the 11 states in the north. So where we have issue of desertification. So likely the issue of the tree planting will be addressed more extensively with the Great Green Wall. But because of the meager resources of the Forestry Institute, so they are going to have asked them to concentrate on the remaining states and then leave the 11 states for the Great Green Wall. So in that way, we'll be able to manage our meager resources and be able to have impact across the country.
Thank you, Excellency. Even the question is not supposed to have imposed to you. The Appropriation Committee should do that. Anyway, it's a new member of the committee. That's why. But it's a good man, my good friend. This question should have been posed to the Appropriation Committee, not himself. Thank you, sir. Sir, thank you. We are grateful, and we commend you for this wonderful report. Thank you, sir. Well done.
No, you see, we have the Great Green Wall that caters for 11 states of the north, where we have the issue of desertification. So an agency known as the Great Green Wall is dealing with that. And then federal government is also supporting it. And then there are also monies from the multilateral agencies. So that is our major concern. Now, but there's also the Forestry Institute that's also helping to plant trees to also help with dealing with the issue of climate change. We still have gully erosion, we have coastal erosion, especially in the south. So the Forest Institute is also helping with dealing with that, and then the ministry itself is also supporting. But the bulk of the fight against desertification is coming from the Great Green Wall, an agency of the Federal Ministry of Environment. So they have enough money, but this money is completely outside the budgetary provision. Some of it comes from the federal government directly. So I believe that they are doing well in that regard.
How many states? What
11
are those states? What are those states? Are they in the north or in the south?
In the north, not like Jigawa, Sokoto, Borno, Kano. There's just most of the states within our northern axis. There are 11 of them.
Is there a time frame attached to it?
It's still an ongoing project, so they roll it over from year to year, and then federal government start providing money from the 3% budget for erosion control.
So, sir, some of the international conventions on climate change, to what extent is Nigeria complying, given the fact that they are very passionate about it?
Well, you see, Nigeria is determined, to ensure that we roll back the issues of climate change. So we've done what we call our national determined contribution, which is things we need to do, to ensure that we're able to meet up the requirements, of the Paris Agreement. Besides, Nigeria has also launched its own energy transition program, moving from the usual fossil energy to the green energy. And then, of course, we were together, all of us were in Glasgow, to follow up with what other world leaders are doing in that regard, especially the issue of the grid, the new highway grid, that is going to provide alternative energy to most of the countries. So I believe that Nigeria is one of the countries in Africa that signed on it. Nigeria and Kenya, I believe the only African countries, that have joined the Great Grid, initiative, which was launched in Glasgow, and our Minister for Environment is also following up in other sectors to ensure that we are able to reduce the CO2 emission. Tragically, Africa, is one of the countries that are hit most, with climate change. But of course, we are the ones that emit the lowest. But believe that with the new initiative, Nigeria, Africa will contribute using the number of sunlight to have, and then also benefit more because we're going to have sufficient energy, to power the various countries.
Can you throw more light on the loan that has been revolving, which we started to say 16 billion something was?
We last year, as I said, there was 6 billion in the environment budget for the servicing of a multilateral loan, regarding to erosion control. Now, regrettably, I think about 1.5 billion of it was released to the environment, and later the Minister of Finance wrote saying that it was a mistake, that was supposed to be for the service-wide votes from where they service most of the loans. So, we took it in good faith. But surprisingly, we now got another 16 billion, for the same reason, in the Ministry of Environment. And because there was a directive from the leadership of the National Assembly that we should not tamper with monies that provided for multilateral loans and all of that. So, but we decided to find out what it's all about. So, eventually, we now invited the ministry, who now said that by the time they got the envelope, the money they sent to the ministry to distribute within the agencies, now there was no such amount. So, by the time the money came to the National Assembly, there was this 16 billion for the servicing of the NEWMAP loan. Now, we now further asked, when is this money due for servicing? They say it's a 10-year, it has a 10-year moratorium. So this project started in 2003, 2013. So 10 years is 2023. So that means we're still in 2021. So we cannot be providing for it until then. And then we also found out that there are states, I think about 21 states are benefiting from it. And these 21 states are those that will pay the loan, not the federal government. So it's either we wait until, even if it's federal government, we want to wait until 2023 before making provision for it, or we ask the states to start making provision for them if they have to pay now. And even if the federal government has to pay, it has to go through the service-wide votes, not the respective budgets of the MDAs is wrong. So I just pointed it out to the chairman of the Appropriation Committee so that I can take it up with the Federal Minister of Finance so that I'll be able to fix this anomaly. It's untidy. But that's why we do the budgeting, to scrutinize this. So there's something abnormal. So we're just doing our work. So that's where the issue of checks and balances comes in. So now we've raised it, we believe that we'll be able to sort it out, without embarrassing the government.
Thank you, sir.